in the spirit of the Jewish community. If you use a point of personal privilege, you should say in the Senate. That's why I took my kids, everyone when they turned 14 years old, one at a time, put them on a plane and took them to Dachau. I wanted them to see that you could not know what was going on walking through those gates. You could not fail to understand.
And actually, many U.S. government services would actually be disrupted, and hundreds of thousands of federal workers were furloughed without pay if Congress fails to provide funding for the fiscal year. Now, the Social Security Administration will continue to issue retirement and disability benefits, but it will continue under the Medicare and Medicaid health programs. The Veterans Administration will continue to pay veteran benefits, but the Small Business Administration will not be able to issue any new loans, though loans for small businesses are hurting by natural disasters and will continue. Most employees of the Federal Emergency Management Agency would remain on the job, and the agency would risk losing out for funds of disaster relief and long-term recovery projects. In 2018-2019, the White House has furloughed 1,100 of its 1,800 staff in the executive office of the president. Some offices, such as the National Security Council, continue at full strength, while others, like the Office of Management, were scaled back sharply.
On Social Security or disability will no longer have to file taxes.
So more financial relief is on the way for millions of low-income households. The lawmakers have actually agreed to send out stimulus aid to those being impacted by the crisis. So Americans may actually qualify for monthly checks of up to $100. And with inflation at record highs, Americans are feeling the pain of higher prices. It's especially true when it comes to filling their gas tanks. And as of June 22, the average price of a gallon of gas was more than $5. In an effort to provide some sort of financial relief, the federal government has actually come up with several short-term options for assisting the public, while also addressing the larger short-term and issue of inflation at hand. Some of these ideas include tapping into emergency oil reserves as well as federal gas tax holidays to encourage more production out of the oil companies. One of the leading proposals at the moment is the Gas Rebate Act of 2022. It has been dubbed the gas stimulus. Similar to the stimulus checks that were sent out during the crisis, the gas stimulus check will be a series of checks sent to qualifying Americans. Now folks, listen to this. Each payment would be of actually $100, with an additional $100 for households and dependents. And for each month where the price of gas was higher than $4 a gallon, the eligibility requirements are less than $75,000 for single filers and less than $150,000 for joint filers. Many individual states have taken matters into their own hands and approved similar measures for their residents. For instance, in California, gas costs are considerably more than in other states. These are the plans to give relief checks of up to $1,000 for a qualifying family. In another group in North Carolina, the state senators are proposing giving every local licensed adult a one-time $200 stimulus payment. So the Bureau of Economic Analysis also reported today that an economic gauge that the Federal Reserve follows closely showed that inflation government default. Janet Yellen raised the stakes in the marathon negotiations on Friday when she provided the first hard deadline for when the government will be unable to pay down all of its obligations. June 5th, everybody, is a date. And asked if Congress can meet that deadline, McCarthy didn't hesitate to say yes. McCarthy vowed that he'll stick with the 72-hour rule, providing lawmakers the full 3 days to read the text of the legislation before they're asked to vote on it. McCarthy even said he's been in talks with Senate leaders about how much time they'll need to meet the June 5 deadline. And if a deal is reached tomorrow, that would set the stage for a House vote on Tuesday. McCarthy declined to name the barriers that remain as he and his deputies haggle with the White House negotiators over the last outstanding disagreements. But he said Republicans have not dropped the demand for permitting reform designed to eliminate regulatory hurdles to energy infrastructure projects. It's something Democrats have opposed for fear that it would degrade the environment at the expense of poor communities. McCarthy also confirmed that Republicans have been in discussions with Carson Sinema and moderate Democrats on particular issues. The speaker outlined the rollout of any deal and saying he would make a vague announcement that would withhold the details of any agreement to allow lawmakers to read the bill before the press and public do. Still, people all over the nation are now wondering what will happen to lawmakers if their personal finances are not met. Based on Social Security Administration payment schedules, a June 5 default might actually protect beneficiaries from the potential delayed checks and direct deposits, because individuals receiving the payments are still going to receive the money, but maybe in a later date. If the Treasury Department is unable to successfully prioritize payments for Social Security, the consequences for these groups can be devastating. Beyond the initial group of payees, the Social Security Administration monthly payment calendar suggests that there is a bit more breathing room for other beneficiaries, providing that lawmakers reach a deal beforehand and the next beneficiary payments are not expected until June 14th. So the debt default picture is also cloudy for individuals, but 6 million people would still be terminated even though they are still eligible. Many who are disenrolled from Medicaid, however, could qualify for other coverage. Food stamp recipients had been receiving a boost during this time. Now Congress increased the food stamps in 2020, but it's going to come down again when the Biden administration already expanded the boost in the spring of 2021. So that households already receiving the maximum amount and those who received only a small amount get a supplement of at least $95 a month. This extra assistance will end as of March, though several states have already stopped providing it. The White House weighed in today because House Democrats were concerned about voting against the Republican legislation to end the public health emergency, which is coming to a floor for a vote. Now, the Biden administration argues the bills are unnecessary because it intends to end the emergencies anyways, and it noted that continuing the regulations until mid-May may not come with restrictions. Also said they support. According to the Minnesota Department of Revenue, half the filers don't pay taxes on Social Security right now, but these changes mean that 76% of seniors would pay no taxes on those benefits. There's also a $100 million boost to state aid to cities and counties so communities can provide some public services without levying huge property tax increases. The proposal includes credits and rebates, but also new tax changes to bring in more revenue on an ongoing basis since most of the budget surplus is one-time money. It creates a fifth income tax bracket of 10% for married couples making more than $1 million a year and individuals making $600,000. The current highest tax bracket is 9.85%. The stimulus checks and other types of crisis-era relief greatly impact the economy, and Congress has already created trillions of dollars into the economy, helping Americans cover some of their basic living expenses. And also pay down debt, because according to experts, the same theory should apply to the Biden administration's student loan forgiveness plan. Some people have their debt wiped out, while others will believe for their lower monthly student loan payments. The amount of student loan debt in the United States has reached a staggering $1.76 trillion, as according to the Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis. Most students now take out student loans to attend college, with the average student graduating with $29,000 in debt. That means many students graduate with even more debt, which can make it more difficult to keep up with student loan payments while paying for everyday necessities. After its announcement last August, the Supreme Court has blocked Biden's plan to forgive up to $20,000 in federal student loan debt. Until a final decision is made, everyone with student loan debt is going to remain in limbo. If the plan passes, the White House estimates the program will provide aid to over 43 million borrowers, and an estimated 20 million borrowers will see their remaining debt balance canceled. Nearly 90% of debt cancellation will actually go to borrowers earning under $75,000 a year. Analysts have already noted that the Biden's plan includes provisions to cap monthly payments for undergrad loans to 5% of the borrower's discretionary income. And this could help some